Joanne,
Hello.
I'm gonna grab something to drink.
Okay.
So in an earlier email, you mentioned being at work. Are you at the Altamont Library now or working?
No, I actually left there in April. I work at the USS Slater.
Oh, cool. What do you do
Yeah.
there?
I'm the business manager.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's neat. That's a not-for-profit, right?
Yes.
Mhm. Cool. Good experience for your library career too.
Absolutely.
You have a business degree or you're just.
No, I have a master's in library sciences.
That I knew. Yeah. Yep. So.
So it was a lot of on-the-job training.
Yeah, there you go. What'd you do for undergrad?
History.
Oh, cool.
Mhm. Yeah. So. Hello.
Hey, Tony. I better grab my phone in case Elish is trying to text me. Hello, Elish.
Hey, what's going on? Oh, I'm gonna pull this down here because I just look like I'm looking up. All right. SVLC is Natalie coming too?
She is. She left work at about 4:15, so she should be home by now. But technically we could go without Natalie. I think Vanessa was going to log on too, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or,
I don't with
this
Tony
was
coming,
Tony's.
maybe she opted out. Today's her birthday.
Oh, there you go. I saw Tony's text and I must have assumed, like I must have seen it twice and assumed it was Vanessa. So I think we'd be good.
Okay. All right. I'll share my. Sorry, I have like 3 screens. I'm trying to get stuff like situated and off my work stuff. I literally just rolled out of my last meeting into this one. So. All right. Sorry, you might hear like dogs freaking out. They've been really upset about the rain in the background, so I apologize.
It's okay.
All right. We can start because I know we chatted with Vanessa a little bit, you and I, Tim, on a phone call. So if she
Right.
hops in, then we can go over it. Really, like if Tony, were you in the last conversation when we were going over the contract stuff? Or you were at least in the board meeting where we discussed it, right? The last board meeting?
I wasn't at the last board meeting. I was at the one, whatever we talked about, I think in August, maybe.
Okay. So I'll try to do like a Cliff Notes version and go through because honestly, really what mostly changed is we just pulled stuff out. Like the stuff that was kind of like fuzzy, like the more we did research on it, the more it was all like a non-issue. So we or the lawyer advised it didn't need to really be mentioned. So I'll just go through like piece by piece. There was no change to the premises section. The change that came up in the use was this was a right to first refusal on any amount of catering, and it was more like certain, whereas this was more like a maybe provided an opportunity to provide food and beverage services for needs of $150 or more. And that was just to sort of, play nice with staff to make sure, they had a little more agency over their programming. And if they wanted to bring in something like Dunkin' Donuts and stuff like that, not that they, stressed multiple times, they wouldn't need to run that kind of stuff by her, but there was a concern revolved around that. So we just threw it in here. And then we're just hoping they build a good relationship with each other and then maybe go to her for more stuff if they need it. So any questions on that?
That sounds familiar.
Okay. Yeah, it was
Hi,
more
Alicia.
like
Vanessa here.
all-encompassing. Oh, hey, how's it going?
Good.
All right, I'm gonna try to make it fast for you so you don't spend your birthday
Happy
on
birthday.
a committee call.
Thank you. Sadly, I'll be spending it picking up kids and going to middle school open house. So.
Oh, excellent. Sounds great. I always have stuff on my birthday. My birthday was always like during like college finals and stuff. So like I gave that up like a long time ago because it's beginning of December. So but yeah, so you didn't miss much. We just went over the right of first refusal thing. We just sort of it got tailored more as like a win-win, hopefully, between the vendor and the staff with the $150 threshold. We locked them into opening time being 8:30. The concern was that on that was a liability, but we decided that with there being, what was it, maintenance staff or somebody was there on behalf of the library, that kind of erased that issue.
Yep.
So we locked that in 8:30.
Plus, just to throw in there for the other board members, Alicia, Chris Lanchanton assures us that our insurance covers all that, there were other board members who kept saying, well, what if someone slips and falls when the library's not open? And Chris is like, that's why you have insurance,
Right.
So.
Yeah, and the cafe will have their own insurance. They have pretty high thresholds too. It's like up to like $2 million or something like that. So they'll be more than covered. I left these as yellow because that will just be something we have to fill in. So there wasn't anything that needed to be discussed. It was just whenever we sign it, date to a year from then.
Alicia, I'm sorry, just right there. You referenced yellow. I'm wondering if I'm looking at the right. I'm looking at the 9/8 version.
Yeah, there is. There's only one under number 3. There is just the term of the lease will be 1 year beginning blank to blank. That's the only thing that I left yellow because it wasn't a change. It's just something that needs to be filled in.
Okay, my device isn't displaying that. I just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right version.
It is. Yeah, I'm looking at the 9/8 and then with my initials on it. I just put my initials on the version because Chris had made some edits while we were going through our call and I was making them on my end too. And then I kind of married them together. So I just want to put it all in one place. So no, you got the right one if it's 9/8. It just might be because yellow is pretty light, but it's just the date. Everything else will be green though. So if you're saying green, you're fine. All right. So 3B, all fixtures and equipment owned. I think that's supposed to be by the cafe. By the cafe. Must be removed at the end of the lease term and any damage done shall be repaired by the tenant. That was changed from something that was just specifically spelling out the counter. But since there's going to be other like bookshelves and things like that the library is furnishing in there, we just made it all encompassing to any fixtures and equipment. So that's all. It just went from, it went more broad to anything that we put in there, basically, other than the tables and chairs that the vendor brings in. Any questions on that?
No. Can we go back to number 4?
Mm-hmm. Well, oh yeah, sorry. I'm going the wrong way, but yeah.
So rent, And I was just wondering what came out of subsequent conversations, because last I had talked with you, my understanding of some of the steps we needed to take to protect ourselves from like our tax exempt status was that we would not charge rent. We would just recover the cost of
The
maintenance
utilities. Yeah.
and utilities.
Yeah.
But that's
So
not how this is worded.
yeah. So it says the tenant shall pay as monthly rent the amount of $200 for the tenant's use of the leased premises to cover the cost of utilities.
Right. Not to be sort of like a super stickler, but my concern is that if we're going to go the route of we're not charging rent, then we should say that.
So should we change the word rent to like stipend or something? Shall pay a monthly
I mean,
amount of
and
$200?
I don't know how others feel about this, but I would be most comfortable with saying the tenant will not be charged rent, because the whole problem, the whole trigger for our tax exempt stuff, as I understand it, is us, making a profit, right? So charging rent would be like an income, whereas, and we did an estimate. So like if it ends up after a year, we realize that like, oh, it could be adjusted down or adjusted up, then any difference in that, or like, since it's a ballpark, can't be construed as income. It's really going in just for the purposes of utilities and maintenance. But I'm not an attorney, so if the attorney is okay with this, then I won't push it. I just wanted to state that. I would be more comfortable if we were clear that we're not charging rent, we're just recovering maintenance and utility costs. It's
Well,
subtle. It's totally
I
subtle,
think
but
if we pull the word rent out, that might help. So the tenant shall pay a monthly amount of $200 to cover the cost of utilities, right?
Works
but
for
it's
me.
under the category rent.
Say that again?
It's under the category heading of rent.
You'd have to change that too.
Oh, gotcha. So we can call,
Like, are you opposed to saying that rent is zero? Are you trying to avoid that? Because I actually think that's an advantage to protect us, that we're not charging rent. We're only recovering costs for utilities and maintenance.
so we could
Like,
say
I feel like we're hiding the ball a little bit, but
no rent.
I don't know if there are other reasons that.
No, I was just trying to keep it simple. I feel like there, if you put in a lot of like, we're not doing this, we're not doing this, we're not doing this, like that was all stuff the lawyer was coming back saying like, you don't need to mention that. Again, I'm also not a lawyer, but we could say no rent will be charged, but
The tenant shall pay this amount.
the tenant shall pay it.
Okay.
So there we go. Okay. No rent will be charged. All right, cool. Are we all good with that?
Yeah.
No rent charge. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. No,
Right.
there was no like bearing the lead. I just I'm not a lawyer either, so
I just had a question about the damage part. Like, who determines what damage is, and what if we say one thing and they say something else? There's maybe just return to the state that it was before they had it. And it's also in quotes too, so I don't know why that was in quotes.
I don't know. Oh, it was from the lawyer. All fixtures and equipment. Yeah. And sorry, I went out of order because I was going up and down. So I'll fix it and I'll get back on the right section. But unless there any lease term.
What if they hang up like pictures on the wall? So they have to patch the holes, or I guess I
Tony,
don't know.
which number are you looking at?
It's 11.
11B.
Okay.
Yeah, we went out of order. That was my bad because I was going top down.
Well, it also just the title of 12 is fire, comma, damage. So I just didn't know which one we were talking about.
Yeah. And again, if the lawyer says it's fine with me. I just didn't know who determines what damage is or.
Sorry. I have a kid that like relishes telling me every time her sibling does something wrong. So, all right. So all fixtures and equipment owned by the cafe must be removed at the end of the lease term, and any quote unquote, I don't know why it's quote unquote damage. I don't know. I'll leave it. I didn't write that. So any quote unquote damage done shall be repaired by the tenant to return lease space to original state. Does that seem more definite or concrete?
I think it's more concrete. That's just me though. So.
I guess if we want to like CYA, Tim, we could always do like one of those standard like landlord walkthroughs, right? At the beginning.
Sure.
And then just take any pictures, like if they point out like there's this scuff on the wall and there's this, it's good practice. Well, do I think Mel will be that nitpicky? No, but it's good practice to do in case we have another vendor down the line and just make it practice or have it just like you would for an apartment, right? Like you go through, take pictures, and then just keep it in the file.
Agreed. I like that, and I like thinking about it in general, despite the personality of the tenant, because we want this to work.
Yeah, of course.
And all,
Yeah, 100%. I had friends as roommates, and I made them sign contracts. I didn't trust anybody, and it worked out actually. I learned my lesson on that. But all right, cool. So I'll go back to number 5 because I skipped over some things on accident. So here's the tax thing. This was a big change because we were unclear like what was or was not an issue. And then in talking to like the auditors, Chris, all the research that was done. I know Vanessa, you did research and did research. So basically what it comes down to is if there ever is like a review by IRS or whoever it may be, and they determine this profit's enough to like, kick in taxes, it's only going to be the leased area that is liable for any taxes. So basically we pulled out the like we didn't know language, and it made it kind of sound like she'd be responsible for the entire property size worth of taxes into just the lease space. So tenant shall be solely responsible for the payment of any taxes and assessments on the portion of the premises used by the tenant only. Any questions on that?
No.
Nope.
That was one of those ones that's super simplified, which is nice. This was a typo that got changed. Before it said landlord was providing access to telephone and internet, which I think was a typo because when we were discussing this, we kept saying that the vendor will be doing their own telephone and internet services, although patrons can still technically like access library internet, which is fine, but for the business's use, they will have their own telephone and internet service. So that was just a typo that got fixed. The wording on number 10 was also a little funny, so we just clarified that, basically saying any furnishings or fixtures supplied by the library remain property of the landlord, and the tenant is responsible for providing additional interior furnishings, and that's like tables and chairs and whatever decorations and stuff that they want. So that was just clarified. It was a little, the wording on it was weird.
So at least number 9, utilities and services.
Yeah.
So given like that we're having the tenant pay money to cover it, I'm wondering if there's a simple way to clarify in the utilities and services that that it's like a pass-through, right? Because right now it looks like, and actually I think up top, unless we added the cleaning and maintenance part, are we cleaning? We're responsible for cleaning the cafe.
Yeah, that's what it's, yeah. It says tenant shall be responsible for care and cleaning. This is just saying like the thing that they can't separate out, obviously, is like heating and air conditioning. And then the gas and water and all that stuff is all going to be under one account. So that's why we're charging the quote unquote rent, but not really. That will cover that. That will offset whatever that increase might be.
So are the common areas, I guess it's unclear to me because when I first read it, I thought it was saying it says both. It says the landlord is responsible for cost of routine cleaning, maintenance, and repair to the common areas as well as snow removal. But then it also says the tenant is responsible for the care and cleaning of the cafe and the outdoor seating area. Shall ensure it meets the health and safety requirements. So I guess the outside area, what's the comment? I guess I don't understand. From reading this, I'm not sure what's whose
The bathrooms and
responsibility.
the common areas are really just the rest of the library once it's open, and when it's not open, the
Lobby.
lobby and the bathroom,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, but like we said, we're gonna also have maintenance folks here, so technically there will be some library staff here. It's just not like the whole of the library being open.
Okay, so the first sentence, the landlord will be responsible for the payment of utilities, including reasonable gas, water, and electrical use for the leased premises only. Does that imply to you or relate to the money that the cafe pays monthly to cover those costs? I guess I just want to make sure that the public knows that the money that the landlord's responsible for paying for utilities for the lease space is being covered by, the cost is being covered by the tenant, the responsibility of paying it is being covered by the landlord.
So should we say landlord will be responsible for the payment of those utilities for the leased premises? Landlord will be responsible for payment. Gas, water, and electrical
Or
use
something like, although the tenant will cover the cost, the landlord will be responsible for the payment?
Yeah, and I think that's what that means to say, right, Tim? Like,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you guys are paying, like you're signing the check, but it's technically covered by. So if we say covered by the monthly, wait, no. Tenant, never spell tenant right. Tenant monthly. I guess we're still technically calling it rent, right? But monthly.
I think the least amount of words would just be like a preamble to that sentence. So if you're comfortable with it, I think if you wanted to say something like, although utilities costs are covered by the tenant, the landlord will make payment of utilities reasonable use or whatever. Or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
I think that just the distinction is that the money is coming from the tenant and the landlord is making the payment. We're not doing like an extra meter or something like that.
So although the tenant will be covering the expenses, the landlord will be responsible for monthly payment. Monthly.
Or should we just take it out? Do we take the utility part out? And this is really just about the maintenance of common areas? Because did we cover the utility payment enough up above? And maybe number 4 becomes
so.
rent and utilities.
I
Let's
would
make
think
number
so.
4 rent and utilities and then take utilities out of the bottom.
I mean, it might be worth pointing out that the onus of paying the bills is on the landlord in case there does become like an issue down the road. I don't know. Landlord
But
will
we
be-
already pay the utilities, so it's like not a change. The only change is the cafe giving us money for it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we're introducing a
right.
process.
So you're saying
that
pull it
is-
all out and just start it out. Landlord will be responsible for the cost of routine cleaning, maintenance, and repair to the common areas, as well as snow removal of parking lots. Da, da, da. Yeah.
Yep,
All right.
I think that's simpler. And then maybe number 4 just becomes rent and utilities at the top.
Yeah. Rent, utilities, and then this is just services. No, it's also utilities technically, but
It's not utilities because we took it out. I think it's maintenance and service.
yeah, I'm good with that. All right. Anybody have anything else for that? Okay. Furnishing and fixtures, technically went over. Did anybody have any on that before we go to the next section?
Nope.
All right, cool. And we already edited this one. Return lease space to original state. Anything else on repairs, alterations?
Nope.
No. Okay. So we changed this one. This one had actual amounts in here, but since there was like actual like a breakdown that was provided to us by our insurance, we wanted to just have that as like a separate attachment instead of spelling it out in the contract itself. That was what was recommended by the lawyer, so I'm rolling with that. So we just put tenant shall maintain liability insurance in accordance with the attached specifications, naming landlord as an additional insured, and shall also maintain insurance on its personal property. So there was that second attachment. I don't know if people saw it, but it's just a bunch of like different limits for coverages. That's basically it, which she already has. So she's already technically met this requirement. But any questions on that one?
No.
Nope.
Okay. And then pretty much the last
So sale
huh?
of books still references the profit share, and I actually had a couple of questions. So can we talk through 14?
Sale of books. Tenant agrees to display shelves of quality used books as donated by the community or withdrawn from the library collection, and to sell those books as part of their standard business operation. Tenant agrees to provide half the amount of all sales to the library on a monthly basis. Book sales also should count toward the total used. Oh, I see.
Yeah. But
So-
also, why are we only getting half? Is that sort of our standard practice when other people sell books on our behalf?
I think they're pretty flexible. There's no one else who's ever sold books on our behalf except for volunteers. But if I remember correctly, my most recent conversation with Mel was that they would give us all of that revenue. And I think it was because someone, in this community or else, I can remember what it was. I think it was our new fiscal officer who said splitting revenue is a bit problematic from an auditing point of view, like it wouldn't pass muster, so the revenue would have to go to us.
Okay, good. I also just think it didn't sit right with me either. It felt weird to allow them to make a profit off of it because, I don't know, whatever. They were donated. So.
That's the thing, they were donated to the library, not to a for-profit business, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so can we change that?
Yeah, I'm trying. I don't know why my thing keeps like auto scrolling. It's driving me nuts because of the formatting on here. But yeah, I just changed it. Tenant agrees to provide the total amount of all sales to the library on a monthly basis. Total amount of all sales to the library on a monthly basis. All right.
I think we can just say like all sales go to the library. or something like
Oh,
that.
revenue.
I don't even care about the monthly basis. I don't know that we have to be that specific.
It's the revenue that would go to the library, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's mainly saying that they paid monthly. Paid out monthly, I guess. Because if that's something that
Yeah.
they're tracking, you want to make sure you're not like sitting on it for like months because it'll mess up like quarterly stuff. I
Yeah,
think
that's
that
fine.
may be why they were specifying that, because I know from like a financial
makes
standpoint,
sense.
they like to track things like month to month. So paid out at the end of each month. Auto scrolls. Okay. All right, I'm good with that. I'm gonna highlight that just so I know that changed if anybody asks. Okay.
So one last just sort of nitpicky thing there. I'm sorry. Do you think it's cleaner to just say that they're going to sell those books on behalf of, on behalf of the library? I don't know. The part of their standard business operation, kind of agrees to provide. Like it just feels. I don't know, Tim. How did we get around selling books before? Like we're allowed to get money off of the sale of, like we're allowed to sell stuff?
Well, it's, all I can say is it's never been questioned in an audit. It's something that many public libraries do.
Okay.
All right, so I just said, tenant agrees to display shelves of quality used books as donated by the community or withdrawn from the library collection and to sell those books on behalf of the library.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think that's simple.
And not have it say as part of their operations.
Yeah.
Groovy. Yeah.
Because then
that's-
they're giving us something and then it gets weird again.
Yeah, and we pulled out the profit share thing because that was also brought up as problematic. But when I talked to Mel, she's like, I'm gonna donate the money towards programming anyway. It doesn't matter. So it's just less. It's not in the contract and potentially putting us in a problematic position. But I think the way we said that work easiest is to
Okay.
donate to the foundation, right? Was that what we decided, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we talked about whether that would be cleaner.
Yeah.
So.
It's her own business. She can, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to mention she did bring that up, and because I was talking to her about it, and she's like, I'm gonna do it anyway. So whether it's written down here or not, so that's nice. We changed this tenant access number 16 because the wording was weird on that as well, right? I forgot what the original wording is, but it made it sound like they were never allowed to come into the library ever. So we changed it to when the library is closed, unless there's prior permission granted by the library director, having access to any of the rooms. Because I can imagine if there's like a special occasion or something like that, and the library is technically closed and we use them for catering, that they would need access to certain areas, but they would just have prior permission granted for that. Any questions on that? Because that's pretty much it, unless you have any feedback on any of the unhighlighted sections.
No,
No, the rest is good.
I only had questions about the sale of books, but you cleared that up, so.
Okay. Yeah, I think the rest is actually fairly boilerplate. It's just like waiver of jury trial and for I don't know, a bunch of legalese. I have no idea. But yeah, we went through it with Chris on a phone call, so whatever
one
she's
thing-
put in here, she stands by. So.
Yep. And one thing in preparation for a board meeting is I'm saying the same thing to my staff who are jumpy about everything that's new and different, but it's only a contract for a year. So it's almost certain that we're going to identify, things that we could do better after a year, and we'll put that in the next contract,
Yeah.
I agree.
So just as a point of
And,
mention in the meeting, yeah, we recognize like some of this may need to be amended in a year, but I think it's pretty good. What was that, Vanessa? Sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, and this is not meeting related. I was just going to say, Tony, do you need me to grab stage from GMA?
I was going to pick her up at 6:05, so I don't know what time you're heading up there.
She's doing a class?
Yeah,
Okay, never mind. I was going to
Yeah.
get Miles right now.
that's fine.
Sorry,
Thank you.
guys.
I'll pick her up.
A little sidebar.
Yeah, no worries.
Mhm.
I know all about the coordinating pickup.
Mhm.
So I think you guys need to take a vote if you want to recommend the contract to the full board, correct?
Right. Okay.
And I can't call for the motion.
Does anyone want to move to vote on approving or recommending this contract?
I can.
Is that Joanne or Vanessa?
Joanne.
Joanne.
Okay.
I can second.
Okay. 20 seconds. Okay. Does anybody abstain? That's the easiest for me to so we can hear everyone. Or not abstain or nay. Anybody nay? So we all approve, right? Raise your hands. If all in favor, say yay.
Aye.
Aye, yay. Any vowel of your choosing. Great. Cool. I guess the only other thing, Tim, is you wanted to run through that the equipment expenditures, right?
Yes, and technically, Tony, I have to pick up my son at 6 as well in Altamont. So I'll try to make it quick, and technically we could let Vanessa go, but it's, what is it, $6,000 worth of potential expenses, actually more than that, about 8. So there are 3 separate categories that these were all discussed earlier in the renovation project, but never approved. And now Megan Brennan is sending actual invoices or purchase orders for these items. And technically, they need to be approved by the Buildings and Grounds Committee. Now that I think about it, though, oh, never mind. I was going to say the old Design Steering Committee had a rule where if the expense in question was under 10,000, then the chair and myself could jointly just approve it. But as Kathy pointed out in an earlier meeting, that committee doesn't exist anymore. So the board motion that gave that committee that power isn't in effect. So I got to quickly run through these for you. The first
Do
is
you want to
the,
take the screen? Do you have something you want to share on
I
screen?
don't have anything to show, but I
Okay.
did email invoices out. The first is,
Just quickly, Tim, though, but did we ever delegate the other ability to this committee to approve? So that same sort of gesture or action that gave the board chair and director the ability to do that, was that I guess what I'm saying is did the board redelegate that assignment from the dissolved design committee to the building and grounds committee?
I know we were
Corrective.
I know we were discussing it, but I don't think it ever got reconfirmed. I think we discussed it at the last board meeting, right, Tim? Because I remember talking to
yeah,
Barbara
so
about it, and then I don't think we re-approved it, right? That might be something that we can put that yeah.
I think
if
that-
Vanessa
I think
is,
what-
so I
I
think
guess
we
I was
need
just
to
going
take
to say,
these.
what I recommend is that we discuss it and then we make a recommendation, and then at
Oh,
the
that's
next
right.
board meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, so the first category is 2 items for the circulation department. One is a bookcase for Phil Berardi's office, who's the director of the department, and the other is 6 2-shelf bookcases that go underneath the circulation desk and just allow them to, there's just empty space under the circ desk now. So this allows them, to put things on shelves and so forth. The total of those 7 bookcases is $3,197.49. And Alicia and I did exchange some texts today that the 6 bookcases under the circulation desk could presumably be found more cheaply elsewhere. This is like stuff from I don't know the maker, but it's the same companies that make filing cabinets and things like that. So it's office supply furniture. I recommend it, but if you'd like us to find a cheaper supplier, we can. It's, I presume we can. I haven't done any work on that. So that's the first item, and I can go on if you'd like, or answer questions.
Just to give some feedback on that, I would be in support of getting the items that match the purchasing we did with the build, since we're still in that time. I think there'll be plenty of time in the future where we'll be required to buy like alternatives, but we have this brand new space. I would like it. It seems like it was an oversight, the storage underneath the circulation desk, so I'd like to match.
I'm with you. So do you guys want to pause there and vote on it, or do you want me to give you everything?
I would say everything, right? So
Okay.
we're not voting on every like thing. But
The second item is a storage, she says storage carts. It's, I think, 2 carts for the stacking chairs in the Tawacentha room. So these are the chairs we use in board meetings. And basically, I don't know if you've noticed, but over in the corner, there's like 30 of these chairs just stacked up. And if we put them on the stacking carts, they would take less square footage, plus we could quickly move them out for another kind of an event. So I think it's 2 carts, totals $349.92. And then the largest single group is a group of stuff for $5,259. And this is some very minor modifications to Jenna's workstation, and then a large wooden storage cabinet for the administration department, and a excuse me, a Herman Miller Aeron chair for Natalie Hurto's office. Everyone in the building got one of the Aeron chairs during the renovation, and then we hired Natalie during the sort of shadow of the renovation. So we would just like to throw in one more chair. I can't tell you why Tim Riley doesn't want one. I think maybe he already got one. I think what happened there perhaps is that Carol Cott had bought one or had asked for one, and Margaret Garrett, knowing that she was leaving, said, "Oh, you can save a little money on my chair." But anyway, so it's a large wooden cabinet. There's already one of them behind Jenna's desk, and we want a second. Some very minor modifications to her workstation itself, and then the Herman Miller chair for Natalie. And that totals $52,59.70. So the grand total of everything I don't have in front of me, but it's approximately $9,000. We're also coming very close to the time when we will be done being able to expense things against the renovation project. And just as kind of a broad general note, there's still around $440,000 of unspent money in the bond, and it's unclear at this point because it's one bond that's shared with the school district. It's unclear whether the school district would then borrow that money to use for their project, or whether it would be returned to the Guilderland taxpayers by not borrowing it because we didn't spend it. But so it's not like we're spending non-money. It's just that if we don't approve any of these individual items, it's almost, I hate to put it this way, but it's almost as though it's not, I hate to say it, but it's not real money. I mean, it is obviously going to be paid back by Guilderland School District taxpayers. And if we don't spend it, my own hope as a taxpayer would be that they would not borrow it. But their project would probably be likely to have cost overruns, given the timing, where ours had cost under, given the timing. So that's up to the school district. But these are not frivolous asks. These are things that make a difference in the work that we do. So I support them all. And then all we're asking is for you guys to recommend them to the full board, right? Because we're not sure that that the full board gave this committee the authority to spend anything. if I remember right.
Yeah, I think we could definitely ask that under like new items, and then like Vanessa said, if we're, you know, matching all this other stuff we've already implemented, then you know, there's not much to discuss price wise. So that we can match everything up,
Yeah,
right?
I'm in support of either approving it if we have that power, or recommending to the full board that we approve the spending.
I am as well.
So are we saying we're not voting on it and we're going to ask for that permission first, or should we approve this and then going forward ask for that threshold?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can do both. We can go ahead and vote
Okay.
to approve it if that's within our authority. We can also take that as a recommendation if when we get to the board, someone's like, oh, no, hold up, we didn't delegate that responsibility or ability to you all. And then we'll say, fine, we recommend it, and then we'll ask them to give us that power. So let's just
And it's
do both.
it's only 2 days, so we might as well just double check the authority
Okay.
once. Yeah.
I think we vote to recommend and then we bring up in new business, getting that power reinstilled back into this committee since it's technically a different committee. All right, does anyone move to vote to recommend this expenditure on the equipment and office furniture?
I move. Vanessa.
Okay. Anyone second?
A second.
Okay. All righty. I think we're good then. I'm gonna type up notes for this, and then I'll discuss when it comes to committee reports. Does anybody have anything else? Otherwise,
I just want to say thanks for your time on short notice.
yeah, thanks everyone. I know it was a little hectic. Everyone's got like a crazy week this week. So, and thanks Vanessa, like double thanks Vanessa on your birthday. Dang, that's committed.
It's my pleasure.
I've sat in a school board meeting on my birthday for 4 hours, so I understand that pain. It was pretty brutal, and nobody got me a treat. So I told you I'd get you a treat on Thursday, and I will commit to that. So just tell me if you're allergic to anything.
No allergies.
Awesome. All right. Well, I got you then. All right. Thanks everyone. Have a good night.
Night.
Yeah, bye.
Later.
Hey, Alish, one other thing.
Oh.
I was supposed to stream this meeting and I came home to feed the dog and forgot. So we violated open meetings law, but this is life, you know, so we don't have to tell anyone that.
That's fair. I was gonna say there's no like retroactive way to record, is it? No, it says meeting recorded in progress.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we can then put it on the YouTube channel. Okay, got it. We'll do
There
that.
you go.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Have a good one.
so I assume IT will have that file and then they can
Yeah.
just pop it on there. We just go,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
There we go.
You got it.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.